Okay, so for this assignment, we were supposed to read the sections in the book and react or respond to the videos on page 5 and 32, which was the first part. So I'll get into that first. That first video, which I thought was probably the coolest one we saw, was the guy with the sand, and that was super cool. I'm not really sure. I didn't know it really meant, like, what it really meant while I was watching. I thought he was just kind of doing it for fun, but there was a deeper purpose behind it, I'm sure. Yeah, the faces in the sand, the eyeball that he made, which was cool. And so it all just kind of related back to, like, his struggles at home and just small things that a lot of people probably don't know about. So he's kind of making the world hear him through art, I guess, and that was super cool to see. The second video on page 5 was the kind of poem or like the legend thing with, what was it, Naro, the wise, which I thought was kind of weird. So he was like a spider, apparently, just like, I'm sure that's not literal. He heard his name 3 times, and he was like, who was that? And the legend pretty much goes, he killed his father, Nasib, and he did that to create the sun, the earth, people, the moon, and the stars, and all that fun stuff. So, yeah, that was interesting. I don't know. It was interesting. It was pretty good. So the video on page 32 about the people living in that devastation kind of area where they get like the different tides, and they get like some of the natural disasters because of like climate change and stuff like that, and that was really sad to watch. So yeah, it was pretty much the video was pretty much summed up by how climate change can affect a small Pacific island like the one they were living on. A lot of people I saw they were losing everything, and some of them even opted to leave everything and go somewhere else just so they could be safe. But even that wasn't, like, they couldn't guarantee safety through that. So I mean, there was always prejudice, and they could easily be looked down upon by the islanders at where they're moving to, and they could just simply put, just be not accepted. What the saddest thing to me were the 2 sisters, and one was too old and kind of weak to leave, while the other one was gonna leave. So I mean, that was sad. Just literally just families being ripped apart. So yeah, the 3 videos I thought they're very interesting, and I don't know, they're pretty hard hitting. Like, I mean, I get it now, and if I can get it, anybody else can. So the infographics on page 35, 40, and 41 were interesting, to say the least. Yeah, that first one with the kids holding up the call for action to climate change. That was pretty interesting. I feel like a lot of them know the consequences that could possibly come from climate change or drastic climate changes. So they want to spread the word and try to, do some research, do some research into it, so we can be more prepared, or they could be more prepared for, like, how do we protect ourselves against this stuff. So they needed help. And I think the island that they said it was Vanuatu, something like that. The infographic on page 40 was that art piece. It was like the mug, and I don't know, I think I took it pretty literally, because my brain doesn't really, doesn't go that deep. So I was thinking maybe caffeine kills. I was thinking that was probably part of it, slowly but surely. I don't know. On page 41, that was the one about suicide in New Zealand, and that was kind of dark, which, I mean, definitely needed to be brought about. And just like, I mean, there's some of the statistics in it. 84 people in New Zealand had committed suicide in the last 3 years, which was 5% of the total number of literally New Zealanders that have committed suicide. So that's a pretty large number in just a few years. And I really liked how the reporter kept bringing up that if this kind of subject was going to get like news coverage, it really, like, they got to make sure that they're not glamorizing it, like, because some movies you watch, it's about suicide and they glamorize it, like popularity contests and stuff like that. So I really like how they were pretty adamant about making sure to not glamorize suicide, because it is something that is serious and it does happen, and you never really know how serious it is until it happens to someone near you, and then you get it. So then they kind of went on to say that, yeah, 66 of those 84 were male, 18 were female, and a lot of them had a lot of different reasons. Some were resource related. They couldn't get counseling for mental health issues. No role model, nobody to reach out to or learn from, and just strictly leaving school and not having anything to come back to. No job security, anything. It was just pretty much just poverty and depression, in, I guess, layman's terms. So, yeah, that was a pretty hard-hitting video. I mean, I don't know anything about New Zealand, so that was just, you never really know what's going on. Hopefully those people can find some help somewhere. Somebody can help them out. So how I literally took Land is Life in the Pacific, I took that as without land, there is no life for those people. Like, they got to live off it, live off the things in the ocean, use the ocean. The ocean's their biggest resource, which I feel like is why when people like me who don't know or don't live near oceans or whatever, they come out here and they don't really know what's going on. Like, I heard you can't move things from the beaches and just small things like that that someone like me wouldn't know. They take that stuff very seriously because nature and just the land they live on is very important to them. And, it's been kind of cool learning about that stuff. So, yeah, I mean, that was pretty simple. Land is life, pretty basic definition, I would think. Just respect the land and it'll give back. So, yeah, that's all I got. Thanks.